core. What if a single house became one of the most controversial locations in American history? What if one address divided the world into believers and skeptics for more than 50 years? And what if the truth does not belong entirely to either side? Tonight, this is not a story meant to convince you that ghosts are real, nor is it meant to dismiss fear as imagination. This is the complete account of what happened, what was claimed, what was investigated, and what still remains unanswered. There. This is the true story of the Amityville House. Amityville is a small town on Long Island, New York, known before 1974 for its quiet streets and peaceful suburban life. Families lived without fear, crime was rare, and nothing about the town suggested it would one day become famous for horror. Near a canal, with private boat access, stood a large Dutch colonial house built in 1927. Its address was 112 Ocean Avenue. From the outside, it looked like the perfect family home. No rumors, no dark history, no whispers of anything unnatural existed before the Defeo family moved in. Ronald Defeo Sr. lived in the house with his wife Louise and their 5 children. Friends and neighbors described the family as troubled but ordinary. Their eldest son, Ronald Defeo Jr., however, had a history that later became central to the case. Police records and court testimony showed that he struggled with substance abuse, violent behavior, and severe emotional instability. Hid frequent arguments with his father and was known to have a volatile temper. Despite these issues, no one imagined what would happen in November of 1974. In the early morning hours of November 13, 1974, Ronald Defeo Jr. picked up a .35 caliber rifle and murdered his entire family while they slept. His parents and 4 siblings were found face down in their beds. There were no signs of struggle. No one had woken up. Neighbors reported hearing no gunshots. The silence surrounding the murders disturbed even experienced investigators. When Ronald was first questioned, he gave inconsistent stories, at one point blaming organized crime. Eventually, he confessed. During interrogation and later during his trial, Ronald claimed that voices inside the house spoke to him and ordered him to kill his family. Psychiatrists evaluated him extensively. While they acknowledged his mental health issues, they concluded he was legally sane and aware of his actions. He was convicted on 6 counts of second-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison, where he remains today. The murders were proven facts, supported by evidence and court rulings. What could not be proven were the voices he claimed to hear. After the trial, the house at 112 Ocean Avenue was left empty. For nearly a year, no one lived there. Neighbors avoided it. Some reported feeling uneasy walking past it, though no official paranormal reports were filed during that time. Eventually, the property was put up for sale, at a price significantly lower than similar homes in the area. That price caught the attention of George and Kathleen Lutz. In December 1975, the Lutz family moved into the house with their 3 children. They were fully aware of the murders that had occurred there. They believed that the past could not harm them, and that the house was simply a building with a tragic history. What followed is based entirely on their personal accounts, interviews, sworn testimony, and later investigations. According to George and Kathleen, the first few days were normal. But slowly the house began to feel different. George reported that certain rooms remained unusually cold, even when the heating system was working properly. Doors and windows were allegedly found open after being securely closed. Strange odors appeared without explanation, sometimes described as sweet and other times as rotten. At night, the family heard unexplained noises, including footsteps and loud banging sounds. Kathleen later stated that she began experiencing intense nightmares almost immediately. She described waking up in fear, feeling watched, and sensing dark shapes in the room. The children also claimed to see things that frightened them, including an imaginary friend described as a pig-like figure. This particular claim later became one of the most debated aspects of the case, with critics arguing it may have been influenced by suggestion or stress. One of the most discussed elements of the Lutz story involved flies. George and Kathleen claimed that during the winter months, large numbers of flies gathered inside the house, especially near one specific window. Photographs were taken and later analyzed. Skeptics suggested environmental explanations, while supporters argued the phenomenon was unusual. No definitive conclusion was ever reached. Over time, friends and relatives noticed changes in George Lutz's behavior. Testimony from people close to him described him as increasingly angry, withdrawn, and obsessed with the house. He reportedly lost weight, slept poorly, and became emotionally distant. George also claimed that he repeatedly woke up at exactly 3:15 in the morning, which coincided with the estimated time of the Defeo murders. Whether this was coincidence, psychological stress, or something else has never been proven. At some point during their stay, the Lutz family contacted a Catholic priest to bless the house. The priest later confirmed that he experienced intense cold in one room and claimed to hear a hostile voice telling him to leave. He reported becoming physically ill afterward. The priest refused to discuss the incident publicly in detail, which added to speculation, but provided no verifiable explanation. After only 28 days in the house, the Lutz family left abruptly. They left behind personal belongings and furniture and never returned to live there. They stated publicly that the house was the source of their fear and that they could no longer remain there safely. In 1977, author Jay Anson published the Amityville Horror, based largely on interviews with the Lutz family. The book became a bestseller and brought international attention to the case. Shortly after its release, journalists, researchers, and skeptics began pointing out inconsistencies in timelines and details. Investigations suggested that some events may have been exaggerated or altered for dramatic effect. George Lutz later admitted that certain details were dramatized, though he continued to maintain that the core experience was genuine. Legal disputes followed. Accusations of fabrication were made. Lawsuits were filed. No court ever ruled that the events described by the Lutz family were definitively true or definitively false. The case remained unresolved. In the years that followed, new families lived in the house. None reported paranormal activity. The house was remodeled, the windows were changed, and even the address number was altered. Today, the house still stands, privately owned, quiet and ordinary once again. So, what really happened at 112 Ocean Avenue? A brutal family murder is an undeniable fact. The fear experienced by the Lutz family was real to them. Whether that fear was caused by supernatural forces, psychological trauma, stress, or suggestion remains unanswered. The Amityville case continues to exist in a space between belief and doubt, between horror and human psychology. And perhaps it is that uncertainty more than any ghost that keeps the story alive.